Hello, Marties. My name is Mpho Malema, and I'm the Vice Primoria of Metanoia. Here with me today is Dr. Ronel Retief and Dr. Leslie van Rooi. So, Dr. Ronel, how has student leadership changed ever since you got involved in Stellenbosch University?
Thank you, Mpho. I got involved in Stellenbosch University as far back as 1990 when I was a first-year student. So since then, a lot has changed. For one, at the time, student leadership was a lot about anti-apartheid activism across the country. And then I think it became a little bit more formalized and institutionalized. The SRC has always been recognized by Stellenbosch University management. I think since then, topics that leadership grappled with were around access and funding and transformation. And then you will remember, or maybe you won't, 2015, 2016, I don't know how old you were then, it was Fees Must Fall and Roads Must Fall. So that was a phase of massive student activism, and it also played out on our campus. And I think beyond that, the issues remained pretty much the same, but more were added. So in addition to access and funding, I think we now, our leadership is really concerned about housing, food security, GBV, so a lot on their plates. The higher education has really become very complex. And I think student leadership really varies between negotiation and activism, and to really get the balance between those two.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ronel. Dr. Leslie, I just want to ask you, what were the biggest challenges that student leaders experienced 5 or 10 years ago?
So I think Dr. Ronel is absolutely correct. The politics of the day very often influences what is on the agenda of student leaders. And then, of course, also the campus dynamics. Now, we're in Metanoia. Metanoia 20 years ago was a very hot topic on this campus, whether we should have a new residence, whether it should be co-ed, etc. And then it consumed that particular year in terms of the agenda of what student leaders had to do and what to think about. Thereafter, I think there was always a bit of a joke that at this university, if we're not interested in the politics of the time, we're interested in the dynamics of parking and whether there's enough parking. My sense is that era is long gone. Ronel is absolutely right. 10 years ago, and exactly 10 years ago, Fees Must Fall was really the hot topic, not only on this university's campuses, but nationally. And that influenced the dynamics, I think, Ronel, also between the university management and students. I think thereafter it became a more open engagement around topics of change, transformation, funding, etc. And I think we still have something of that in the system. Not perhaps in the same way, but definitely as it is part of a national debate and a national discussion, NSFAS, etc. I do think the relation between the different student structures have become better, student leaders amongst one another. And then, of course, as I said, the relation between the different university structures, including the rector and the rectorate, and the student leaders have become more open, mostly via the SRC, of course, but also with the other structures. And then I do think the topic that is still high on the agenda of students in general is whether one only needs positional leaders or whether you should also have non-positional leaders, or to what extent there should be or is an interface between the two or not. But we know that we cannot really manage this university, we cannot influence the university, we cannot really be a university without elected leaders, and therefore this phase is quite exciting and quite important for the university.
Okay, thank you very much. So my question to the both of you now is, what is your advice to the next generation of student leaders? I'll start with Dr. Ronel.
Thank you. So I think there's a lot to be said, but first, top of mind for me is that you are in service of the student body. So leadership is never about you. It is about the constituency that you serve. So that would be my first bit of advice, to keep that in mind. I think if you're a positional leader, as Leslie said, to really use your position to access the information and the support that the institutional structures offer. You do have access to those, so to really access those to the benefit of your constituents and to execute on your mandate, to keep the communication lines open with management, even though you might not agree with them. I think it's very good, and as Leslie mentioned, we have a really good relationship, I think, with our SRCs, but to really keep that communication line open. And then maybe lastly, to look after yourself, to take care. I think to keep work-life balance, which many of us don't succeed in doing in any case, but to try and have work-life balance, and to also keep at your academics, because I think sometimes the academics get left behind because of the very, very full schedule of our student leaders. So yeah, to really try and get that balance right.
Thank you so much, Doc. And what's your opinion, Dr. Leslie?
Yes, I would gladly add to what Dr. Retief has shared. I think the fact that you will get a lot of exposure is mostly to your advantage. You grow, you meet other student leaders, you interact with a broader university, etc. It's very important for growth, also, as a skill set after university. Then I think student leaders must always remember that you represent. And in this case, you don't only represent who voted for you, you represent the totality of the particular community. If you're in the SRC, the full student body. If, like you serve in a house committee, the full residents, etc. Thirdly, I do think it's important to collaborate. You can barely finish a full year's task by yourself. I think you can at best focus and finish a task if you collaborate. That is really important. And then lastly, I do think it's a very short term. The first term of the SRC and student leaders term, that is term 4 of the academic year, is so important to activate matters. Then it moves into the welcoming period that is almost consumed by the welcoming of newcomers, some financial challenges, often also housing challenges, so it takes up the focus and the energy. And then you're in term 3 of your elected term. Then it is about concluding or making sense of what has happened and planning to execute the last phase. And then you enter the handing over period. And for the students who will soon leave their positions, that is immensely, immensely important. So if you have something of a vision, understanding, linked to what Dr. Retief has shared with regards to what happens on campus and nationally. If you focus on yourself in terms of almost grounding yourself, making sure that you're in the role, you understand yourself in the role, you're prepared to take up the role with who you are, not who you still plan to become, then I think it will stand you in very good stead to, in partnering and in collaborating, deliver in service of every student that you serve. A wonderful, noble idea, but of course a very tough idea that is best executed in partnership with many others, including our university structures and leadership.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Leslie.
Mpho, now I think it's time for us to ask you a question. So mine would be, what legacy do you want to leave after your tenure as a student leader?
Thank you so much for the question, Doc. I want to be remembered as the Mpho Malema who was for the students, by the students, a leader who led with so much grace, passion, integrity, and courage, a leader whose leadership was not determined or characterized by her social hierarchy nor magnetic personality, but rather her ability to altruistically represent the interests of students, a leader whom of which the students ran to and not away from. Yeah.
Wow, that really is amazing, very noble, and I hope that many of us can continue setting a very similar example. But what do you think, and really this is something that I think all of us wonder about, What is it that you think should be the role of student leaders today?
I think that basically a leader is someone who is a conduit, someone who brings different people together. But I also think of a leader as like a conductor of an orchestra, someone who makes sure that regardless of the fact that we're all different, we all come from different backgrounds, we all have different stories, we all basically play the same sound at the end of the day. You know, I like to think of it as the one band, one sound, that even though there are so many differences, but we can actually create something beautiful out of all the differences, if only those differences were to be recognized and acknowledged. So.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for that. I really hope that you and many of our students, if not all of our students, will either participate and stand for positions and then specifically also vote for our student representatives, and in particular, of course, our Student Representative Council.
Thank you, Mpho, for the opportunity. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Vote for SRC.
Hey!